I'm not convinced that Houston is not going to be the team that just messes up the whole Big 12 status quo this season. Do they have a Jordan Tyson, an NFL receiver? Do they have a Sam Leavitt, an NFL quarterback like Arizona State had last year? Do they have an NFL running back like Cam Scatterboot? No. But what they do have is a really sound defense. They don't make mistakes. They don't beat themselves. And I think they're explosive enough offensively. And they continue to get a little bit better week over week on the offensive side of the football. They've got a top 25 defense in terms of scoring defense. They held Oklahoma State to 45 rushing yards. They've been dominant stopping the run. They're 19th in ESPN's defensive efficiency. They're top 10 nationally in fourth down defense. They've got a really good passing defense efficiency number. They've got Carlos Allen up front, and they have his teammate in the trenches, Khalil Lofau, who's the number one rush defensive graded interior lineman in the Big 12. Like, they have some pieces. Dean Connors at running back's been dual threat in terms of his pass-catching ability and as a rusher. And I know they're likely without Stephon Johnson in this game, who's their big play receiver. He's third in the Big 12 in yards per catch at 21 yards per reception. But he's not their best receiver. Their top two receivers are Amari Thomas, the transfer from UAB, who has been fantastic, and then Tanner Koziel, their tight end, who's the number one tight end in the country, according to College Football 26. And you factor that in with Wegman, who I think continues to get better. When he's healthy, he's been really good. I still really like this Houston team. You know, the line is a little bit confusing to me. They're at home. They're an underdog against a team that's 1-2 in Big 12 play in Arizona. Arizona's played a tougher schedule, sure. But I think this is a coin flip game and a game that Houston, if there's one team that I would think would win this game by 2 scores, I would lean more Houston than Arizona.
Also interesting dynamic about this, you know what time the game is?
Is it 11 Central?
11 Central. And a game you can catch as a part of Big 12 Radio on TuneIn is one of our 2 games of the week this week. On TuneIn, so you can catch that and hear the local broadcasts. By the way, if you want to hear all of the games across the college basketball, college football season for the Big 12 and beyond, check out TuneIn Premium. But, yeah, 11 a.m. Houston time kick. So that's 9 a.m. Tucson time?
Are they on Pacific or Mountain?
Yes. They don't change their clocks, James. It's super confusing to figure out which time zone they're in, which time of the year. But I believe it'll be 9 a.m. currently. Local time for the kick. I think it's a 2-hour difference currently.
You are correct.
Yeah.
You are correct.
So early morning kick for the boys from Tucson. Here's what Willie Fritz had to say in the lead up to this game about this game.
Well, real quality ball club. They got beaten double overtime by BYU this last week. BYU tied it up with just a few seconds left on the regulation clock, and then beat them in double overtime. Got a great quarterback. He's not a real tall guy. He's probably 5'10", 5'11", but I mean he's got great feet. He does a good job of throwing the ball outside the pocket, inside the pocket. Good receivers. Playing really well defensively. They've run a whole bunch of different things up front. With odd, even, slanting, bringing linebackers up, dropping D linemen. So we really got to be on point this week.
What would you say is Arizona's offensive identity?
Real quick, was Willie Fritz doing his press conference from a truck stop payphone off of I-10? Why was that
See in the
straight out of
bathroom?
1982? Called in on a landline payphone.
Can we get Willie Fritz some better connection here?
We need to get him a cell phone. We should try that. Maybe, yeah.
He literally coaches a team in the biggest city in the Big 12, by far. Can we get our guy something a little bit better?
What was your question?
What's Arizona's offensive identity?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because I think early in the year, we were really impressed by their ability to run the football with Ishmael Mahdi and Noah Fafita as a scrambler. And, to beat Houston, they're going to have to be able to throw the football. I don't know that they have an offensive identity. I would say that they're probably one of the more balanced teams in the Big 12, if I had to guess. Rushing, passing numbers. Their offensive coordinator, Seth Dagey, is a guy that his offenses kind of evolve around his personnel. So I would say they're almost a ball control, manage the clock, not really explosive, but have very capable backs and a better offensive line.
To me, the question here is a big reason for why they struggle in money situations. They are 106th in college football on third down conversion percentage on offense.
It's not good.
35%. They're currently 13 of 28 scoring touchdowns in the red zone. They score touchdowns on 46% of the red zone touches. Not good enough. This to me is the crux of the question here. They have an identity crisis. And, I mean, I don't know that, how much identity matters. I think sometimes it can be overrated. But I feel like they don't know what they need to be in certain situations. Are they a passing offense? Are they a rushing offense? And that's why their third down percentage is so bad. I think that's also why their red zone percentage is so bad. I think they need to get Chris Hudson more involved in the red zone. I mean, he's delivered when given the opportunities to do so. And, again, based on third and short or what the situation is, they need to be, better balanced. But the reason I ask the question is because I think those numbers stand out in terms of, like, they're just not good enough on money downs, and I think that has a big thing to do with what they want to do and what they want to be on offense. I'm not sure that they know.
That's a really good point, and Houston's a tough task to try and right that ship. I think this is a strength-on-strength matchup in terms of both of these teams and their identity. Arizona has evolved into a really good defensive football team that leans on their defense. I mean, they're number one in the nation in pass efficiency defense. They've only allowed one passing touchdown all season. They're top 15 in total defense, turnovers forced, tackles for loss, almost 8 per game. They've held opposing offenses out of the end zone in 18 of 24 non-overtime quarters this year. The defense has been really good. My question is, can Noah Fafita will his team to a victory? He's thrown for the 4th most yards in school history. His numbers are much better this year. But when they have struggled against Iowa State, against BYU, we saw him revert back to some old bad habits where it's a little bit too much backyard football and he hangs on to the football a little bit too long and he takes some sacks. So, this is a game where I think both sides are going to lean on their defense, and then whichever team can get a couple of explosives, probably in the passing game, and then to your point, whichever team can stay on the field, which I lean Houston based off that third down conversion number and that glaring red flag for Arizona. Too many 3-and-outs offensively, not enough sustained drives for them. And the offense, it's interesting this year that the defense is now kind of carrying this football team.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's where I think this could be a low-scoring affair. These are two great defenses. Arizona, again, got really destroyed on the ground by BYU last week. So we'll see if they fix some of those issues. Here's what Arizona coach Brent Brennan said in the lead-up to this game.
Right, have we put that BYU thing behind us, and are we ready to attack this next opportunity or not? And I'm confident in this team. I love how we're playing. I love the effort, the intensity, how tough our kids are, how we responded the other night. But just like you guys, just like everybody else in Wildcat Nation, I'm pissed off we didn't get it done. But we don't have time to feel sorry for ourselves about how that ended, because we have an incredible challenge this week, and it's on us. And so we have to go work attacking this next thing.
Yeah, I think when you think about teams at the top of the conference versus teams at the sort of mid-tier of the conference, it's clear that these two teams are there. Houston's lost to Texas Tech and Arizona's lost last week to BYU. Shows kind of how they stack up against the top of the league right now. But, I mean, I would say if Arizona has not fixed their running issues, their defensive issues on stopping the run, it's going to be a long day for them against Houston.
Because Houston's going to ground and pound with Dean Connors.
They're happy to do that.
Stafford, the other running back.
Even with Wegman.
Mm-hmm. And Wegman. Or Chris, if Wegman somehow gets knocked out of the game, which he was healthy last week against Oklahoma State. But you're absolutely right about the gap in this league appearing to be a little bit top-heavy because Arizona loses at home to BYU. Houston loses at home to Texas Tech. So there is a gap. Now, why I think this game is so big in terms of the goals that each of these programs have is you look at their upcoming schedule after this game. Houston has a chance to build some serious momentum. Meanwhile, for Arizona, they play at Colorado, home against Kansas, at Cincinnati, Baylor, and at Arizona State to wrap up the year. If they take an L at Houston, it will be challenging for them to get to 6 wins and get to bowl eligibility based off their schedule. It's much tougher after this. So this is a massive game, I think, not just for each of these teams and if they're going to make a bowl, but each of these teams and where they're going to finish the rest of the way in the Big 12 standings. There's a big difference between 2-2 and 3-1, as we've alluded to. So it's a major game for both.
Yeah, and again, I think where Houston is in terms of expectations, a little bit different. Whether it should be or not, to me, isn't part of this conversation. But it feels like Houston is maybe ahead of schedule a little bit. They're playing better than people expected. Arizona is 2, but if they lose 2 straight, I think some of the goodwill from the fans will go away.
Oh, yes.
And the interesting dynamic involved with that is, like, this is a good team on the road. Those are not usually games you expect to win.
And Tucson's typically a very difficult environment, and it was very rowdy at home against BYU. But the way Arizona lost that game, it did leave a sour taste in the mouths of the fans. And so now, back-to-back losses, and there will be some heat on Brent Brennan. And you're right, both programs, second-year head coaches. Willie Fritz took over a program that was really struggling and had won, 3 or 4 games the year before he got there. Brent Brennan took over a team that had won 10 games the year before. That's the difference. So fair or unfair, the expectations for Arizona is you win 9 or 10 games. We don't care what league we're in. We're used to winning because we had this recent taste of success.
Where would you put Wegman? Like, how do you characterize him? Would you put Fafita ahead of him if you're power ranking the Big 12 quarterbacks? Like, what's your feeling on Connor Wegman currently?
I think I would actually have Wegman slightly higher. When he's been healthy, he has been really good. The difference is Houston doesn't throw the football 30 or 40 times a game. He's been accurate. He's had explosive plays. And I also think that Arizona has a little bit more for him to operate with, Fafita that is, at the wide receiver position. You know, Houston is typically, under Willie Fritz, their offenses are somewhat conservative. And when Michael Pratt won the American Player of the Year at Tulane, his numbers weren't, 4,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, anything crazy like that. They were somewhat modest. So his quarterbacks are always phenomenal game managers. And Connor Wegman has done that at an A-plus level. He doesn't turn the ball over. But also, he's a better runner than I thought he was. We didn't see that much at Texas A&M because he was beat up and he was just trying to stay on the field. At Houston, what he does with his legs has been a big key to their success. He had a huge game on the ground against Colorado. He had a huge game on the ground against Oklahoma State, and that's another added dimension to that offense that I think elevates him.
This is Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today. Here's what Willie Fritz said about Connor Wegman.
Pretty much scored from that point forward. But you want to have that out of your quarterback. And you'd love to have your quarterback, be a leader for you. That doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes I've had some quarterbacks who are really kind of silent guys, didn't say much. But Connor's got great leadership qualities. It's great when your quarterback has that kind of confidence and conveys that to the rest of the offense. So, I'm proud of him for, seeing that that's what we needed to do and conveying that to the rest of the offense.
Against Oklahoma State, just to kind of magnify how good he was, he had over 300 yards passing, 306, right? He completed 70% of his passes, and he did not throw an interception. He was one of only 2 quarterbacks in the entire country last weekend to do just that.
Wow.
300 yards, 70%, no picks. I mean, he was flawless against Oklahoma State. But because he's not throwing for 400 and there's all these other really good quarterbacks in the league, it gets overlooked.
That's James Wesley. I'm Ari Tepkin. That's our Houston-Arizona preview and a game you can catch as a part of Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. So make sure and check that out on TuneIn. If you have not yet, download the app and make sure to favorite the channel, Big 12 Radio. With James Wesley on social, at James Wesley. I am Ari Tepkin on social, at Ari Sports. On the way next, our Week 8 previews continue with the holiest war. That's next. This is Big 12 Radio. Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn and watched as a part of Big 12 Studios.